What if I told you that one of the most recognizable men in the world, a man who has worn more faces on screen than most of us will ever meet in a lifetime, once looked at his own reflection and didn't recognize it? Not because of makeup. Not because of a role. But because somewhere along the way, he had lost the person he used to be. This isn't some poetic line from a script. This is Johnny Depp's real life. For decades, we've seen him as the charming outsider, the unpredictable genius, the rebel who didn't play by Hollywood's rules. He was the man who could turn even the strangest characters into living, breathing legends. From the eyeliner-wearing pirate to the gentleman with scissors for hands, Depp has lived 1,000 lives in front of the camera. And yet, off-screen, there came a point when the spotlight couldn't hide what was happening inside. We like to think that fame is a shield. That once you make it, the pain disappears. But if you've lived long enough, you know the truth. Pain has no respect for bank accounts or award shelves. Struggle doesn't check your IMDb page before it moves in. And sometimes, the higher you climb, the lonelier the air gets. Johnny reached that altitude, and somewhere up there, he realized he couldn't breathe. It wasn't one moment. It wasn't one bad night or one big scandal. It was years of slow erosion, a little piece of himself chipped away here, a little more there, until he realized he was playing roles even when the cameras were off. Roles like, I'm fine. Roles like, this doesn't bother me. Roles like, I can handle it. And for a while, maybe he could. But eventually, pretending got exhausting. The wake-up call didn't come with fireworks. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation in a hotel suite or a screaming match in the press. It came in a quieter, heavier way. It was that private moment, in a quiet room, when he understood that the path he was on was unsustainable. That if something didn't change, he was going to lose more than just roles. He was going to lose himself. And that's when the journey began, not the kind of journey you can book a ticket for, but the kind that forces you to start from the inside out. Sobriety. People throw the word around like it's a simple, single decision. But anyone who's been through it knows the truth. It's not just about removing something from your life. It's about replacing it with something better. For Johnny, that meant more than saying no to the things that numbed the pain. It meant saying yes to feeling again. Even when those feelings were sharp. Even when they were uncomfortable. Because in those feelings was the only path back to himself. The first days are always the hardest. Not because of the cravings, though those can be brutal, but because of the clarity. Suddenly, there's no filter between you and reality. The quiet moments are louder. The regrets are clearer. The memories come back in sharper focus. And you have to face them without running, without hiding, without pouring a drink to blur the edges. For Johnny, this was uncharted territory. He had played characters who faced dragons and duels, but now the battles were happening in his own head, and there was nowhere to hide. This is where the people around you matter most. Johnny started choosing his circle carefully. He pulled closer to friends who cared about the man, not the movie star. People who would call him out when he needed it, who would tell him the truth even when it was uncomfortable. Mentors who understood that accountability wasn't about shaming, but about reminding you of your worth when you've forgotten it yourself. These people became his lifeline. And here's the thing, building that kind of support system isn't glamorous. It doesn't make headlines. It's not a movie montage of smiling faces and inspiring music. Sometimes it's sitting in a room with someone who says, I know this is hard. I'm staying anyway. Sometimes it's a phone call at 2 a.m. when your mind is screaming at you to give up, and someone talks you through it. It's not easy. But it's essential. Still, even with the right people around him, there was a question Johnny had to answer for himself: what now? Because recovery isn't just about walking away from the bad, it's about walking toward the good. And that's where purpose came in. For Johnny, purpose had always been tied to creativity. Acting, yes, but also music, painting, storytelling in all its forms. For years, those things had been tied to his career, to deadlines, to studios and contracts. But now, they became something else entirely. They became a lifeline. A way to process what he was feeling. A way to reconnect with himself. Music wasn't just a performance, it was therapy. Painting wasn't just a hobby, it was a conversation with himself that didn't require words. And here's the beautiful thing about purpose, it doesn't have to be big to be powerful. For Johnny, it wasn't about box office numbers or magazine covers anymore. It was about the feeling he got when a melody came together, or when a canvas started to take shape. It was about making something real, something honest. And in that honesty, he started to heal. But there's another side to recovery that doesn't get talked about enough, the physical side. When your mind is trying to heal, your body has to help. Johnny began paying more attention to the things that kept him grounded physically. Eating better. Sleeping better. Staying active. It might not sound exciting, but these small, consistent choices were what gave him the strength to keep going. When his body felt stronger, his mind followed. Addiction specialists will tell you that you can't just subtract the bad habits, you have to replace them with better ones. Johnny lived by that. Instead of long, chaotic nights, he built routines that gave his days structure. Instead of being surrounded by noise and distraction, he sought out peace and stillness. Instead of chasing highs, he chased meaning. And here's the most important part, this wasn't about becoming someone new. It was about finding his way back to who he had been before life got loud. Before the chaos. Before the headlines. The work was slow. There were setbacks. There were days when it felt like nothing was changing. But every time he chose to stay the course, every time he made a decision that aligned with the man he wanted to be, he was building something stronger. The transformation wasn't about the big, public moments. It was about the small, private victories. Waking up clear-headed. Saying no when saying yes would have been easier. Having honest conversations without fear. Choosing quiet over chaos. These are the moments no one else sees, but they're the ones that matter most. Johnny's journey is a reminder that no matter how far you've fallen, no matter how lost you feel, it's never too late to start over. The first step is always the hardest, the one where you admit to yourself that you're worth saving. But once you take it, the road, no matter how long, is one worth walking. So let me ask you, if you could rebuild your life from the ground up, what's the first thing you'd change? You might not be facing the exact same challenges Johnny faced, but we all have those moments when we realize something has to give. And in that moment, you have two choices. Keep pretending. Or take that terrifying, powerful step toward something better. Johnny's story proves that the second choice, as scary as it is, can lead to a life that's not only worth living but worth celebrating. And if this story resonated with you, there's more. There's another chapter to his transformation that dives even deeper into the emotional side of his journey. It's a story I think you'll find even more inspiring, and I've linked it so you can watch it next. Before you go, if this connected with you, hit the like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because I have so many more stories like this to share with you. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about Johnny Depp's rebirth. It's about the truth that lives in all of us, that no matter where we are, we can turn the page. And the next chapter? That's yours to write.